So, sorry about that little break. Um, but what's remarkable about the placebo effect as well is that these subjective experiences that where people describe that they're feeling better actually have now been shown to not just be something that's quote unquote in someone's mind, but that actually reflect neurophysiological changes in the organism. And so there's been, for example, the emergence of the field of neuroplasticity and the awareness that the brain actually is plastic and changes over time, but that neuroplasticity can be affected by the mind, by our subjective intention or effort to change that. So I'm really interested here to just situate a potential theory for what underlies the placebo effect within a participatory framework. And within that context, we'd be looking at that, the placebo effect is a result of a bunch of different actors and elements participating to create a healing outcome. So when you have the context of a doctor giving a participant, a client, a patient, a placebo pill, all of these different factors are participants in that dynamic. So we have the doctor as a participant, then the client, and then the pill or whatever is said. And so all of those participate to create a healing construct. Um, and I think this is really interesting, for one, to look at that this speaks to the mechanisms underlying the therapeutic alliance. And so, I don't know if anyone read Elkins when we were reviewing the humanistic literature, but he speaks to the fact that we know that psychotherapy is an extremely effective technique. It really helps people a lot, but we don't necessarily know why that is. And what's unfortunate and ironic in our current zeitgeist, which I'd say is also changing a lot, but in the prevailing zeitgeist, you could dismiss the therapeutic experience or the benefits of psychotherapy as a quote unquote placebo effect because we don't really know what it is. So it's just people convincing themselves that they feel better and you can dismiss it. But part of the theoretical philosophical change that needs to be made, I argue, is that, ultimately healing is healing. If a practice helps you connect and make a subjective improvement in your experience of life, then it has utility as a healing technique. And while we might kind of try to address our angst and discomfort at not understanding how that's happening by creating more discrete techniques and mechanisms that we can test more easily, this is not ultimately going to lead us to a greater understanding of the healing agent that was originally at work. And it can also lead to confusion and misguided practice. We might choose to apply surgery or cognitive behavioral therapy in a context when bedside manner, which is kind of the classical notion of how a doctor behaves, when bedside manner would be a better intervention, or something like the therapeutic alliance, or a somatically driven inquiry into the deeper causes of illness, similar to someone like Peter Levine, who teaches somatic experiencing. And so this isn't to suggest that interventions like surgery and CBT aren't necessary and valuable often. They very well may be. But what it does suggest is that we might be applying those interventions when these other interventions are more appropriate. Um, that's one thing. A second thing is that those interventions might not be as valuable or be as effective because we're not applying them within a healing context. So, we might divorce those interventions from these more ephemeral, softer skills, and that could lead to less optimal outcomes. And then finally, just that the placebo effect skills, so to speak, these softer skills, may be more effective ultimately in addressing the root causes of illness than these more discrete interventions. So, one thing that I think is interesting in all of that, and that I'm interested to champion, is that I think that all of that kind of speaks to the significance of these underlying, what I'm calling placebo effect skills, but I think you can also see them as certain qualities of being or values in life, and that those have a significant effect on the interaction. So for example, with the placebo effect, I mean, if you give a pill, but you tell someone that it's a terrible pill and it's not healing at all, and you say it to them very meanly, and you erode their belief in themselves that they have an innate healing capacity, then that's probably going to yield very different results than if you tell them this is an amazing pill that's going to activate your true healing self within, and that through that, you, me, together as a team, me, doctor, you, patient, we're going to really transform your life. That is more likely to lead to a very different outcome. And so within that, I think that these qualities or values are something that are actually quite significant, especially if we're going to move in a participatory direction and kind of let go of metaphysical claims and attempts to kind of uh, situate or claim an absolute truth that underlies reality. We're still going to need to figure out some way to get along and find common ground. And that becomes very apparent when you take it out of the philosophical context and you put it into the context of practical lived experience. I mean, there's all sorts of times when we need to figure out a way to meet someone else and see them and be seen by them in order to get something done. And so that to me is those qualities and values, they may be a priori in much the same way that we would consider metaphysical constructs. But the difference is that I would suggest that they may be, through embodied relational inquiry, they may be verifiable, not as absolutes, but as functional tools within a certain construct. So, on that note, I wanted to invite us into a brief exploration of that within the context of something called chi healing. And for that, I want to invite folks to just connect with some minor irritation, uh, nothing too major, but just something from the last week that has irritated you in some way, and see about what that feels like in the body. And I'm going to close my eyes and I invite you to do the same. And what we're going to experiment with here is transmitting and connecting to a deeper sense of well-being, and seeing if the application of our mind, our conscious intention, can actually affect, we can't measure our physiological responses, but can see if it affects our subjective experience of that well-being. So with that minor irritation in mind, I want to invite you all also now to connect with a sense of well-being. And by that, it could mean all sorts of different things for each one of you. For me, it certainly means something that is a state that feels calm and regulated, where I feel relaxed and I feel connected naturally to myself. And so I want to invite you guys all to find whatever that state is for you. See if you can feel that in your body. See if you can connect with that feeling inside the body and expand it. So within Chi and consciousness theory, there's a principle that where the attention goes, energy goes. So where the consciousness goes, energy follows. So by putting this awareness on our well-being, we are expanding that experience within ourselves. So allow this feeling to wash through your whole body, cascade down your body in a feeling of well-being. And see if you can connect with a positive quality, whether that's love or trust or sense of connection. Draw that into your body and mind, to your whole being. Notice thoughts are coming up, and without getting rid of them, seek to return to the sensation, the connection to the felt sense. And with that in mind, you can bring yourself back into the room and notice how you feel. And I guess I'd put forward that I think that these qualities and values are actually really important because they underlie and express themselves through a lot of the things we have. Like, for example, a scholarly debate. You know, the scholarly debate can go a lot of different directions depending on how people are feeling. If they want to get more combative, if they want to be more in a spirit of constructive dialogue. And so I just want to wish everybody the best for a wonderful rest of the symposium and the rest of their semester. Really connected with those qualities or states of being that truly nourish you, whatever they are. So with that, I'm going to wrap up here. Just want to say thanks again, and I look forward to reconnecting with you all when I get back. All right, take care.